Look, I just want to have a real conversation with you. If you clicked on this video, it's for a reason. Whether you have a label or not, whether you believe there's something wrong with you or not, you clicked on this because at some level, you know that your brain is wired differently. If you're like me, you probably struggled most of your adult life and maybe even most of your life because in normal settings, wherever you went, you were expected to be something that you were not in order to be quote unquote successful. So for me, for example, that meant I really struggled with most of the jobs. Most positions that I had throughout my career, despite my best efforts, I was not a good fit for those environments. And I went through the entrepreneurial route. A huge part of it was financial needs, knowing that the state of the work just wasn't going to be enough to support me and my loved ones. But a huge part of it is also this desire to be free to be me, this just tiredness overall of trying to be someone that I was not, this desire to express something in me that I was tired of being in scenarios and situations where I felt like I had to let go of that. I didn't have that outlet, and where I was, in a way, a sort of resource that was just meant to be turned into something else in order to make money for the company. So I really struggled. And for the longest time, I asked what was wrong with me. And that was the underlying question. What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? And of course, labels came later in life that were supposed to help me make sense of certain things, right? And it was no news to me that I was thinking differently or that my brain was wired differently. It was not a news to me. I was able to adapt to different scenarios, but that's only because I was able to adapt. I wasn't necessarily happy in those scenarios. I was just able to clench my butt cheeks long enough to sit in an office or whatever, to try to blend in. And when I say I struggled, it's not like I was a complete misfit. I mean that I just was generally unhappy. And again, just felt like something was wrong with me. And if you're in that state, this is the message that I really want you to take away first and foremost. There is something wrong with you. You want to know what it is? Here it is. What's wrong with you is that you still can't accept that your desire is enough for you to pursue something. That what makes you feel alive is good enough for you to say yes to something, and what drains your soul is good enough a reason for you to say no to that thing. You can't accept it yet. And so even if you were to quit a job, even if you were to go and build your own thing, if you don't figure this out, you're going to end up building another job that you hate within your own business. Okay, you're going to pursue making money, achievement, until you get the things that you think are going to give you the freedom to be yourself. And then you realize that freedom is something that you always had. And that it wasn't about what you achieved on the outside, it was a state of being. And this will touch you in so many ways you have no idea. And let's first talk about the problem with the way we're working right now, whether you are in your own business or you have a job and you're transitioning into your own business. We are expecting people to just kind of sit down and then produce their best work. And that just doesn't work. I want to share with you in this video actually what worked for me and how I was finally able to free myself from those expectations and to do things my way, to give myself permission to do it my way, which I believe is the only way for you to be happy and to be fulfilled and to be alive. If you're like me, if you think like me, or if you're in a similar position, I don't believe there's any amount of extrinsic motivation, any amount of money, any amount of perks, any amount of benefits, any amount of achievement that's going to make you feel the way you want to feel until you give yourself permission to be free, to understand that you were born an artist. We are all born artists. Some of us are aware of it, some of us are not. This is my belief. And the thing is, this is the brain of an artist. This is the artist's brain. There's nothing wrong with it in my book, unless you're trying to force this person to be in an environment that is not aligned with it. If you're trying to force me to do work that is not for me, to not be in my zone of genius, to be in not even my zone of excellence, And I'm trying to force myself to be there, if I'm trying to force myself to sit down for 8 hours straight or 10 hours straight to work on something that is not interesting to me, and you haven't explained why it should be interesting to me, and you're wondering why I'm not interested, and you think there's something wrong with me, there is nothing wrong with not being interested in not interesting things. Like, I don't know. I can't see it. I'm not getting it. Sorry, I'm not getting it. It's not making sense to me. It's like, what's weird about that? What's strange about that? What's strange about this very basic human behavior and motivation? Like, it's either it's intrinsically motivating or it's extrinsically motivating. Intrinsically motivating, we all get that, right? If I love it, I'll do it. You don't have to convince me. You don't have to tell me. I'll just do it for the sake of it. Okay. Extrinsic motivation really has to be worth it. Like, the carrot versus the effort has to be worth it. And when life becomes so ridiculously impossible, like it is for a lot of people nowadays, and where things get so expensive and the pay is still not, in comparison, it's not good enough, or it's not enough, and we consume also a little too much, and we're stuck in these cycles where we overwork ourselves to make money in order to maintain certain lifestyles that we don't even need or even want, for that matter, then it's not very motivating, because the amount of work and effort and crap one has to go through in order to just be able to afford to pay to live on a planet that is ours in the first place is kind of a shitty deal, you know? It's not very motivating. And if somebody is not motivated to do the work, there's nothing wrong with them. Not unless your idea of wrong is a person not being happy to be a fractional slave. And that's what's wrong with them. They're not happy forfeiting their creative mind. They're not happy forfeiting their soul, their spirit, for whatever peanuts. Like, those things that you think are motivating, they're not really motivating. And for some people, yeah, even a lot of money just isn't motivating enough to sell out. And that doesn't mean there is anything wrong with you. There's nothing fucking wrong with you. There's something wrong with the idea that you have to force yourself to become someone, not someone that you are not, but someone you don't want to become. That's the key distinction. It's not that this is not who you are. Who are you anyway? I'm nobody, you're nobody. We can become anything and anyone we want in the next second. But first, I have to want to. I have to recognize that as part of my higher being that I want to become, and then step into that. But if I have no reason to, I have no reason to. So if this isn't a conversation about neurodivergence or whatever, you know, or the system or anything. That's not what I'm interested in talking about. What I'm interested in talking about is, how can you give yourself permission to finally be free? How can you allow yourself to really say, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. What makes me happy, and figure out how to make that work for me. Because what I can tell you is, for something to work, it has to come naturally to you. It has to be effortless. And effortless does not mean it's without effort. There is effort. There is striving. There is work. There's a little bit of struggle. There is growth in that. That is not only normal, it's good. It's a good thing. That's what makes us feel alive, that tension, right? That push and pull in life, in nature, for any being to grow. That's what's necessary. So I'm not saying, you know, we got to find what's free from any resistance at all, but it's the least resistance. It's the path of least resistance. It's not the path of zero resistance. That's the key difference in how you choose your path for what you do for work, and then how you promote yourself. And from my perspective, because I am a marketer, I talk about marketing specifically. I'm going to tell you, marketing is one of those things that I resisted for the longest time. Despite knowing everything that I can do to promote myself, I didn't do it. And I thought there was something wrong with me. I was like, my goodness, like, I'm looking at all the companies out there, 99.9% of them, I'm not a good fit. I don't want to be a good fit. Okay. And then was able to find a couple that I actually was a good fit with throughout my career. So I wouldn't say there were zero fits, but for the most part, no. Going in business for myself, at first it was about make money. And then I reached a point where I was like, okay, hold on a second. Like, I've been working hard to get to this point, but what is the point? I don't love this. I don't wake up feeling the way I want to feel. I just created another prison for myself. I just created another chain for myself. I want to be free, but what does that even mean? If freedom doesn't come from all of this, surely more of it is not going to create freedom, right? So you've got to ask yourself, what is it that would make you so lit up, so on fire that you don't even have to convince yourself to do it. And here you got to stop thinking about how you're going to connect that to business and to money and things like that. First, just allow yourself to ask the question, what do you want to do? Because when you do that, then you don't have to practice force to have discipline. You don't have to create force to focus. You will still have to, again, practice. You still have to, again, have that bit of resistance, right? To be disciplined, to be focused, to be all the things, but it won't feel the same way. It won't feel like you're trying to jump from here to here. It will feel like the next logical step. It's like that 2% edge. It'll just feel very different. And this is why it's called the path of least resistance. You have the least resistance to it because it's most aligned with where you are right now and who you are right now, not who you think you should be. So let me give you an example. When it comes to content creation, for the longest time, I judged myself. And still, even as of this morning, actually, I finally had clarity about this, which is why I'm making this freaking video. I judge myself because I'm like, why can't I stick to my creative process anymore? When I started, I had no process. I had to figure out the process. I had a process. I followed the process, and then I let go of the process. And I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why can't I have this like linear thinking? Step 1, do this. Step 2, do this. Step 3, do this. Why do I want to make videos like these where I jump in front of a camera and just say whatever? I want to drop in and be able to create content with ease and flow and all of those things and not feel like I'm creating content, feel like I'm just having a conversation with you. But at the same time, when I do that, I don't like it. I'm like, that's not what I am and who I am. I still want to have like, I don't want to just go and ramble on camera. I don't want to just get in front of the camera and ramble. And at the same time, I don't want to feel like I'm trying. I don't want to feel like I'm doing something like that. I want it to feel like it's a natural expression of who I am, like a little bit of effort, not killing myself, but not even trying at all. And it was a constant push and pull between those two things. Oh, and also I want to create something that's authentic and I want it to perform, right? Those two things at the same time. Like I need my content to perform and I need it to be authentic, which has been like the story of my life from the beginning. If you guys have been following me, if you've been watching me for some time, this is something like Brenda full self-expression. It's a practice every single day, a practice of freeing this, and this, freeing all of yourself from your butt all the way to your head. So point is, it's a practice of freeing your self-expression. But that doesn't mean just say whatever, comes to mind. It's also at the same time a practice of stepping into who you know yourself to be. So it's a lot of freaking work. And at the same time, you don't want to put the work in appearing a certain type of way. You want to put the work in the becoming and then trusting that the reflection of that is going to show in the process. And so I had all this resistance around, can I just like share authentically what I'm feeling and what I'm going through today, not like last year, not the lesson I learned 3 months ago, but the lessons that I'm learning in real time. And I've been doing this for a couple of weeks or a few weeks at this point, a few months. Yeah, I don't know. I've been doing it for some time. Point is, today, I finally realized that I was still full of shit. I was still thinking about it. I was still thinking about how do I package this in a way to make it ... to make it this way or to make it that way. I was still thinking, allowing myself to just authentically express what's going on here and what I'm really learning and what I'm really feeling is not enough. That is the lesson to share with you. The challenge and how I'm solving it for myself somehow is not enough. But that's literally what I do all the time. It's just that at this point, I remove all the layers. So why can't I let myself do that? I just wouldn't. Because the truth and what I realized today is because sometimes I don't like myself enough. Sometimes I think I'm just not good enough to be seen the way I am, not ready for whatever it is. And so there's still that part that's like a guardian on my, like here, that's trying to watch everything that I say and everything that I do to try to make sense of it, to try to turn it into a piece of content. Okay, make sure to first state what is it the video about, and then make sure to have whatever. Make sure to follow the linear. This is the point 1, point 2, point 3. Make sure to call to action at the end. Make sure to this, make sure to that. And it's just stifled my ass. And I keep fighting against myself, trying to convince myself to just Even as I'm saying this, I'm judging the video. I'm like, this sucks, Aliana. You were supposed to help someone else. This voice is always going to be there. This fucking voice is always going to be there. But the point is, what's most natural to me, what comes easiest to me, which is not completely free of effort, there's still effort in getting in front of a camera and sharing this and working, just allowing myself to say those things. Honestly, I don't know if it's clear to you guys, but it's really not very comfortable. It's fucking hard to say those things, and put my heart on the line. And at the same time, I also have to make an effort to actually figure out what my thoughts are, because this started like days ago as a bunch of feelings and emotions, and it started days ago. But in order for me to turn it into like, what is the nugget that I have here? What's the message? That takes work. And then this morning I realized, I've just been resisting this. Like, this is what I do right now. This is my most effortless creation. Not free from effort, but this is what my heart is saying. This is what I want. This is what I want to do. Is I want to be able to share things like these and transmit this message to someone. And I know who I'm talking to. I know that person very, very well, because whenever I go through phases like these, it's not out of nowhere. This is linked to something from the past, and then before and before and before. And so I can see my past self, just like I can see my future self and my present self, all of them, the trifecta, having conversations with each other. And it's like all of them come to this one point where I'm like, okay, this is a lesson for where I am today. I'm sharing it now for me yesterday, me the day before, me last week, me 10 years ago, just going through it in different stages. All of these versions are here. Why am I resisting this? I've known for months, at least, that I wanted to share my audios that I record privately with people. And that feels like a huge step for obvious reasons. I mean, those are things like literally me talking to myself for 10 fucking years. Okay, imagine having like, I also have a written like journal, but imagine having like all of your diaries and all your journals just open to the public. It's fucking scary. Not that I have to like share all of them, but sometimes those things kind of help get the point across of how did I get to this that I am right now putting into my program, and now putting into my framework, or now putting into a content piece. But I'm resisting it so much, even though it feels right. Not easy, but right. It feels right. And get this. People tell me this is the most helpful one. This is the kind of content I get the most positive feedback on, more than anything else. If I were to sit down here and be like, hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to talk to you about ... And then I get like, step 1, you do this. Step 2, step 3, right? And I teach you like a lesson about marketing. Okay, great. That works too. People like that as well. But the stuff that really brings people to me, they're like, hey, like, I know you, I trust you, I feel you, I connect with you, and I want to work with you, and I want to talk to you, and basically anything that creates a connection is this kind of content. This is what actually creates connections. Every single freaking client I've asked most of them, I think maybe even all of them, why did you work with me? Why did you choose to work with me? Not a single one, not one client said, I worked with you because you're the only one in the world who does marketing. Not a single one said, because you're the top marketer in the world. Every single one of them said, it's because of you. It's because of who you are. It's because of how you are, because I connected with you, because I just see myself in you, something like that. And yet somehow there's just still part of me that really rejects that. And I just wonder if it's because I'm afraid of opening up to people. Is that it? Is it because I fear that, and I am trying to keep that distance with other people, and I'm using this as an excuse to keep that wall, right? I don't know what it is, but that's just one of many examples of the path of least resistance presenting itself to you in life. Something that you feel is pulling you feel is resonant with you, it feels right, and every part of your being is telling you to do it, and then your mind, or I don't know what part of you, just kind of enters the chat and goes, no, this is not going to work. Here are all the reasons why this is not going to work. Here are all the reasons why what you want is not available to you. Here are all the reasons why you can't let yourself have that. You can't let yourself do that. It doesn't make any sense, etc., etc. And you talk yourself out of it. I just want you to know that if so far in life it felt like most of your life has been struggle, please, please, please just accept this one thing. What works for other people doesn't work for you. That's okay. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. It means that you haven't found what works for you yet. And so, again, I'll speak about marketing because it's my lane, right? It's what I understand. And content creation is something I've only started 2 years ago, but marketing is something I've done for 17 years at least at this point. If you're feeling resistance, like I was many years ago, where I was resisting promoting myself, I was resisting going out there and doing the work, it's because you don't feel good about the way it's been presented to you before. People have told you you have to do X, you have to go post a million times on social media, you have to talk about XYZ, you have to follow the specific marketing tactics, the sale tactic that doesn't feel good, you have to go create false scarcity, you have to do things that feel out of alignment, feel wrong, feel icky, you have to do things that are just not right for your energy today, not right for where you are today. So trying to be at 100 where you can't even be at 5% just yet, not understanding that there is a practice, that you got to start somewhere and keep building. So the very first thing you want to do is stop reading and learning about all the other things that you can do, and stop fucking thinking about all the things you could possibly do, and just commit to carving out 2 hours per day, just 2 hours per day. You can find 2 hours per day. If you can't find 2 hours per day, create 2 hours per day. If it means waking up a little bit earlier and going to sleep a little bit earlier, do whatever it takes to have that protected time to start. Don't try to have the perfect 10 hours of performance in your business or in your side hustle when you haven't even figured out how to make 1 or 2 hours of deep, meaningful work. If you really want to make a difference in your business and you feel like you can't focus and you can't be disciplined and you're trying to be structured like everybody else and you're wondering what the hell is wrong with me, stop all of that. The first step is to understand why you haven't been able to so far execute consistently on what you already know, not more things that you can do and all the fancy schmancy stunts that you can pull in marketing. But what about the basics, the simple things that you know for sure? If somebody were to come and ask you, what should I do in this situation? You'd be like that. You tell them what to do. But when it comes to you, you don't do it. I'm not saying this for you to beat yourself up. I'm telling you because when you think about it, when you know too much, sometimes what happens is that your intelligence turns against you and you start to overthink every freaking step, and you start to think that it can't be this simple, it can't be this easy, it's got to be more. Case in point, exactly what I was talking about, right? Like this idea that it can't be this easy, it can't be this simple for me. Well, not easy is not the word, but simple, right? Because easy, no, it's not fucking easy. Even if you're gonna you set out some time to build your business, it's simple, but it's not easy. Like there's so much inner work that you have to do, and then there's so much that you have to change about your environment, and there's so much you have to change about how you're showing up and everything in order to build that business. But what I can tell you is it's not complicated, it's very simple. So the very first step is carve out those 2 hours and start a practice. This is part of actually what I teach in my own curriculum with my own clients and students. I talk about this all the time. You've got to start with at least 90 minutes of deep focused work. I didn't invent this. They've done countless studies on what works on most best performance in the world, and what they found is that they work in intervals, not the stereotypical factory system that we've been brought up to buy into, to sit down for 8 hours straight, and somehow if you're not working 40 hours a week or 60 hours a week, then you're not productive enough. But instead, this is a system where you're alternating between deep focused work and then taking regenerative breaks, and you do that for 90 minutes at least, and then you take a break for at least 30 minutes, and you repeat, so on and so forth. But at first, you just start with one session of 2 hours per day, and that will include your break, by the way. Okay, that includes a break of 30 minutes. So technically you're only working for an hour and a half, but I included the break in this because I know some of you will listen to this and be like, okay, yeah, I'll take a break, and then you'll go scroll social media. That's not a break. A break has to be something that regenerates your soul, something that lights you up on fire, that makes you want to beaming, with excitement to talk about the next thing, or feeling that feeling of peace. Feel like you want to feel before you start your work. Here's the biggest hack. If you want to hack, there's no such thing, but here's the biggest hack. It's the state of being that makes all the difference. It's not the action that you do. It's who you are and how you're feeling in the moment as you're doing it that makes all the difference. That's why 15 minutes being your best self is completely different from 5 hours doing the work as somebody who is disconnected from yourself, from your best self. It's a state makes so much difference. And yet nobody talks about it. And a huge part of that is being able to regenerate and recover. You've got to have that practice. So that's the first thing. Carve out the time 90 minutes of uninterrupted time, even if you don't know what you want to work on, just make it a habit that I'm going to work on my thing for 90 minutes every day, just 90 minutes every day. And I'm going to sit with it until I get into it, I'm going to start, even if it sucks, especially if it sucks. I'm just going to start. If I need to write, I'm going to write until you get into it. If I need to record, I'll record and I'll speak, blabber until I get into it. Whatever it is that you feel you have resistance to, that you feel like you're trying to make yourself work. Because here's the thing, please understand this one thing. The way we're working, the reason why it's not working anymore is because we haven't really understood that nowadays it's really all about creativity. And especially with AI, this is only going to exacerbate. For the longest time, humanity had worked in a factory setting, right? You sit down, you have in front of you a station, they put something here and they put another thing here, 2 items, and what you have to do is just literally all day, you're just putting together these 2 pieces. You become like a freaking machine. You're just repeating the same action over and over and over and over. When you're doing the same simple task over and over and over, what happens is that you optimize very quickly. You get really good at it. You become like a machine. You become better at it. You're going faster. You don't have to think about what do I need to do next. You don't have those feelings of overwhelm or confusion or anything, or fear or anything, when you sit down, because you know exactly what you're going to work on. Your workmate sitting next to you is going to hand you the piece, and you're going to take this thing and then link them together, and that's your job. That's literally it. And you just sit there all day. The point is you can get really good at this really fast, but creative work is different. It's not linear. And that is the problem, is that we have not embraced the power of this, and we have called it all sorts of things, and we try to change it like it's a problem, like there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. This is a fucking superpower. That doesn't mean that you're not capable of linear thinking. You are capable of linear thinking, but non-linear thinking is so much more fun. It's so much more exciting, because you're following that aliveness of the creativity. You're following the ideas. You're connecting the dots. You're having fun. When you play, it's a playfulness that people like us need in order to feel alive. We need that freedom to express. We need that freedom to live through that. So please stop treating it like it's a bad thing and lean into that. Whatever it is that you love doing, that should be your fucking marketing. That should be your marketing. For me, I love, more than marketing, I love to express myself. More than marketing, I am an artist. More than marketing, what's important to me is to be able to connect to something within and then share it authentically, share something real and raw with you. So that is my fucking marketing. Does it work with everybody? Fuck no, of course not, it doesn't. But for the right person, it works. Not only does it work, for the right person, it's like, this is all I've been looking for. I get when people work with me, they tell me, this is something that a lot of people tell me over and over. They tell me, you are the marketer I've been waiting for. Like, I've been praying to find a marketing solution like this, or somebody who teaches marketing like this. Can you imagine people actually looking for the thing that you are dreaming about, that you're holding back and saying, nobody is going to pay me money for, or who's going to care, or nobody cares, or whatever it may be. Okay. And I know you might be thinking, no, it's different for you. It's different for me. I promise you, I was in your shoes, I wondering, does anybody care about this stuff? It turns out a lot of people care. And now I'm going through it again now that I'm shifting into content creation or creator model. Does anybody care what I have to share? Well, it turns out some people are, and let's just see how many people are. And if they're not, that's okay. And so I want to invite you to do something crazy with me. Okay. Do what makes you feel alive. Forget about logic for a minute. Prioritize the marketing tasks that would bring you joy. If your thing is talking to people, go network with people. If your thing is to create content, create content. If you're in doubt, just tell the truth. You know what? I'm gonna make a piece of content called "When in Doubt, Tell the Truth." It's about, okay. Side note, this is the benefit of nonlinear thinking. Check out wherever you're watching this. I'll put a link to subscribe to Mojo newsletters, my newsletters, and I'm gonna send you a recording next time, one of the next times in the near future. Something that has the behind the scenes, the personal recordings that I record with myself that lead to this, and the context of what I mean by saying when in doubt, tell the truth. Like when you don't know what to say in your marketing, tell the truth, and what that concept means. Okay, do something that just be in joy. Like hopefully if you listen to my work, hopefully your business or your work is your passion, is something you love. Hopefully you're wanting to make money from something that you love, right? If you're not, then what the fuck are you doing here? Brands Are Life is all about you being yourself and doing what you love and expressing yourself and things like that. Okay. The thing that you love, apply it in your own life and be a walking case study of what that means, so that when people see you and they see the impact on you, the person who wants that result will want to work with you. It's that simple. It's that simple. That's it. When people work with me, again, it's not because I am the best marketer in the entire universe in terms of like information and knowledge and skill and things like that. I am one of the people who know what they're talking about. I've had enough experience and enough client results to know that with certainty. And of course, there's infinitely more information for me to learn, and none of that fucking matters at the end of the day. Because again, the reason why people are buying from me is not because information, yeah, that's great, that's useful, but they can also find it elsewhere. But they look at me and how I'm applying my marketing and having fun with it, and they see my commitment to this aliveness in my business, commitment and to aliveness in my work, commitment to aliveness in my content, commitment to aliveness in my conversations. No matter what I do, it's not what I do. I could be having a job, I could be working my own business, I could be a freelancer, I could be a contractor, I could be a housewife, I could be anything. I could be anything in the world and I would still be me, fully self-expressed and feeling exactly the way I'm feeling right now. Because it's not what you do, it's who you are and how you are being in that moment. It's a state of being. It's an expression. That's why it's called full self-expression. So you've got to find the thing that brings you joy. What people want to see is to see you enjoy, not enjoy with the E, but with an I, enjoy. Like, not doing the thing to bring joy, but sharing your joy. You're in joy and you're sharing it. If you're in passion about a topic and you're passionate about it and you're getting in front of a camera and talking about it or writing about it, that is a very well-known phenomenon called emotional contagion, first of all. So even if you have any resistance to the concept, you can understand it. But just find that thing that lights you up, because you've got to stay connected to the thing that lights you up. You've got to stay connected to the thing that makes you feel alive. That is the juice, that is the mojo, that is the thing that really powers your speech, your communication, your thinking, your ideas. When you're alive, when you're lit up, when you're excited, when you're giddying, like inside you're giggling with, oh my God, I want to talk about that, and and you're thinking about it and you're talking about it and you're almost obsessed with it, maybe even literally obsessed with it. That is it. That's it. Because honestly, if you don't have that, then why the fuck would you even want to start a business? There are millions of ways that you can make money. Why would you pick this one? There would always be another way that's easier than that. You know what I mean? So stop trying to make your journey look exactly like other people. If you're looking at other entrepreneurs and you're like, well, they're going online and they're posting 3 times a day, and they're doing this kind of hook and they're doing this kind of content and they're talking about this kind of topic and this is what's trending right now and this is what the algorithm favors at this point, and you're constantly jumping after these kinds of trends. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with it. It's not for me. And if you're like that and it's not for you either, stop fighting it. Please stop fighting that part of yourself. Just understand. Yes, I understand that puts you at a disadvantage in some ways, but if you look at the flip side, if you look at the gift behind that, that puts you at a huge advantage. Let me tell you something about today's day and age. Think about all the content that's out there. Think about all the marketing that's out there. Okay, people, not only are they sick of it, it's literally impossible for a person to consume all the things that are out there, even a fraction. There are hundreds of hours of YouTube content that's being uploaded every single minute. If all you did all your entire life is consume content, you didn't sleep, you didn't eat, you didn't do anything other than that, you just have something, a machine, like holding your eyes like this open to keep watching content, I promise you, you will not be able to watch even a fraction of the content that's out there. What does that mean? That means literally you cannot, people don't give a shit anymore. They're so overloaded. They're so tired. They're so done. They're so done. And also there's a sensory overload. They no longer want that. Okay, so that, first of all, is out the window for most people, for a lot of people. For a lot of other people, complicated shit out the window as well. People want less, not more. They are favoring things that bring them back to reality, back to being connected to themselves, back to a state of breathing. Maybe I'm biased because I've been one of those people. Maybe because I'm surrounded with people like that. In my world, in my universe, this is what I'm observing, this is what I'm seeing. And I know this is where humanity is going. How I know that is because you just kind of like look at the trajectory of things, unless something happened to change it. If it continues going this way, this is exactly what's going to happen. At the same time, with artificial intelligence, what you're seeing is like it's pushing people to have to communicate more clearly. You have to get very specific about what do you want, because you got to say specifically what do you want from this thing, but also not feeding it too much information that it doesn't give you what you actually need. So you have to, again, you have to be very careful about how to communicate the thing, which means that you have to get very clear in your mind. And to get clear in your mind, it means that you have to improve your input and reduce your input, or give yourself space for your mind to process the input that you're already putting in it. What does this all mean, Aliana? It means basically you're not going to win by creating more content. People are not going to watch it anyway. You're not going to win by doing more marketing. People are not going to consume it anyway. You're not going to win by creating endless more products. It's not going to be volume. It's going to be quality first, volume second. That doesn't mean that volume is not important. It means that quality first, quality first. So if you're just starting out, maybe you want to create a high volume in order to practice and to get better. Certainly you do. I mean, I tell my clients always, if you've never created content, first thing I make you do is make a 30-day video challenge. Like 30 days straight, you're making videos, so that you stop thinking that a video should take you 5 months to make, and so that you would get over the first monster of fear of being in front of a camera. That's the first thing we do. But after that, it's really a conscious decision to just figure out your voice, which takes more practice, but you can't keep doing that if your goal is to maintain short-term attention over and over and over and over and over on social media. So I'm telling you all this because if you're having resistance to it, you need to stop blaming yourself. Stop thinking that you're not doing well enough. Stop thinking that it's because there's something wrong with you. Stop thinking that you have to change. If it feels like a very big change in your personality, that is not the path of least resistance. Again, remember, it's not about not having any resistance, it's the least resistance. So prioritize by what makes you feel alive. If you look at all the marketing possibilities and initiatives and things that you could possibly do to market yourself, within that 90-minute frame that I talked about, what is it that you would rather do? If all of them were going to work, what would you want to do? And if you were guaranteed to fail and none of them were going to work, which one would you want to do? I'm serious. Like, think of both of these options and then go for it. Try the thing and then decide if it's right for you or not. But sit with that resistance for a little bit. Don't just be like, well, I tried to create content and I hated it, so I guess content is not for me. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, if there's any part of you that feels like there's something for you here, like, pay attention to this. There's a desire here that's pulling you, that's magnetizing you. That is a sign that there's something for you there to uncover. And yes, there's some growth for you there, but I promise you what's on the other side is so, so, so worth it. But whatever you do, don't go into beating yourself mode or trying to be 180 degrees from where you are, 360 from where you are. It's just way too much to handle in the moment, because the change has to happen here and now. So here is an example. This video, for me, there's still some effort because I'm still looking at the time. I'm like, gosh, it's taken too long. I wanted this to be a short video, but I also lean into the message. I feel that this message needs to be said in this much time. I wanted to convey this message, and this is how long it's going to take. At the same time, I'm thinking about not rambling, but also, because it's still important, I want to still stay on topic, but also I'm thinking, how can I say what needs to be said and not rush the message? So it's constantly balancing this out. And if there's a voice in the back of my head that's judging me, which happened like 2 or 3 times throughout this video, not a lot in the grand scheme of things. I used to live a life where I was constantly judging myself 24/7. So this is quite an improvement. Point is, this is effortless because the effort is something that I can manage. It's something I can wake up tomorrow and do this again, and the day after, and the day after, and the day after, and it's not going to be impossible for me to keep going, to look at this tomorrow and say, what is one thing I can do better next time? Where it doesn't feel like I have to wear a different character when I sit here and talk to you. Where it doesn't feel like I have to force myself to do work that is so that I resist so much, that is not using my zone of genius, that is not using even my zone of excellence, where I feel like I have to do it because I've been told that's how it should be, and that this is the image that I have of what I should be as a creator, or as a service provider, or as a mentor, or as a, as a consultant. I have to be this way. I have to have a process that works like this. I have to do my content like this. I have to do my marketing like this. So much so that I wouldn't have the energy anymore to get up and do the work, because what's the motivation? So much of it, when you're doing in your own business, especially, or when you're a creator like this. I'm not getting paid to create content. This is something that I decided to take on. There are a million other ways that I could be attracting clients to me that don't involve creating content. So why am I making content? Why am I making content? If not every single piece is going to result in a client coming and knocking on my door and saying, hey, I want to work with you. Is it worth it for me to show up and do this? 1000%. Because I have my reasons. And so you've got to find your reasons. You've got to find what lights your soul on fire, and finally give yourself permission to do it, and do it your way. And don't worry about it if you're not seeing the results that you want to see. It doesn't mean that it's not working. It means that you're learning, you're growing into it, you're practicing. That's okay. Not only is it okay, that's exactly that's exactly the point. The point wasn't for you to get in front of a camera and make a perfect video. The point was for you to discover who you are in the process. I really hope this video encourages you to stop seeing yourself or thinking of yourself as something that is broken, someone who has something wrong with them that needs fixing, or that needs to be forced to be more disciplined, more focused, more whatever, trying to make yourself do stuff that doesn't light you up, not being able to see what is it about it that would even light me up, and beating yourself up for not performing in a certain type of way, having unbelievable, unreasonable expectations of yourself, and negative self-talk that doesn't encourage anyone to do anything at all. And instead, learn to see yourself for what you are, the beauty of what you are, and your spirit, and what is actually a gift in all of this. And can you lean into that gift? Can you see the beauty of that gift? Can you use it for your advantage? Can you allow yourself to be in joy, and let that be your marketing? Let that be the thing that runs your business. Purely following the path of least resistance, not a path of no resistance, but a path of least resistance. And can you make peace with time? Can you make peace with the fact that maybe right now all you can do is 90 minutes of really good deep work? And then you give yourself a break and you practice that again and again and again until you finally figure out how to show up. And then you start building with another session of 90 minutes, and so on and so forth, until you feel like you've taken care of everything you want to take care of in that day, while also respecting that some things are just going to take so much longer than you initially thought. That doesn't mean that something isn't working or something is broken. It means that you're just focusing on what you can do from where you are. What's the best that you can do here and now? Go do that. I spend so much time thinking, how many pieces of content can I create, or should I create? Should I make one a day? Should I make one a week? Should I make, I don't know, 3 times a week? In what format? How are they going to go? What is it going to look like? Because I was told that I needed to decide on all of those things before I could even allow myself to come out here and play. You know what I discovered? The only thing I can focus on is the input. The only thing I can do is create the time and space to create, and then focus on being the best that I can be throughout the day, not just when I turn on the camera, not wearing a mask here, but just being her, who I know myself to be, and then showing up to a camera and having that space and time and watching what comes out. And you know what's beautiful about that is when you allow yourself to really do that, you get to see the truth of where you are. Instead of channeling all that energy into trying to appear different, you just get to see the natural result, or the natural outcome of that input. What's the output that's coming out? What's the outcome that comes out? Effortlessly. And if you don't like it, it's okay. That means that's where the work is. And because you're not wasting your energy trying to appear something different, trying to go from 0 to 100 in one day, because you're not doing that, then you can channel that energy on walking with yourself step by step, respecting where you are right now and looking at that 2% edge. That's the dance. And if you want my recommendation for those 30 minutes that you're going to recover, I invite you to spend time with yourself, like your true self, like truly listening. If it means journaling, writing, meditating, recording an audio, if you're like me, going for a walk, don't listen to a book or a podcast, or don't input stuff into your mind. Just let things come to the surface. Learn to listen to yourself without judgment. I promise you, there's so much healing in that. And there's so much goodness. I love you. I'll put a link in the description or wherever you're watching it if you want to get that recording or part of it. I'm not going to share the entire things. I don't know. I think it would be too much of a jump at this stage, but maybe share with you guys the behind the scenes of what it really feels like, just so you see that even if you know what to do, just so you see that you're not alone. All right. Thank you for watching. I'll see you soon.